objects for our Messier minutes for this session. Here we are at the point of the lunar month where the moon's out of sight now for the next couple of days, and then it'll rejoin us late in the week, where it'll be a pretty crescent moon, maybe with some earth shine over the western horizon after sunset. So in this interim, we've got still some nice dark skies to take advantage of. So what I recommend is that if you haven't yet grabbed your fainter Messiers from the winter, so say the Crab Nebula, Orion Nebula, M42, M43, Crab Nebula, M1, and also the M70, where's my M78, the Casper the Friendly Ghost. You can grab them over the next few nights, and then we'll talk about some additional ones you can pick up this week and maybe even look a little ahead a bit. So let me just share my screen here, bring up Stellarium, and I'll put the human faces to the side here. So I'm showing the sky basically right now. I'll bring it into the evening sky here. So these, the only symbols that I'm showing on the sky are the Messier objects. Obviously, there's lots and lots more. The winter Milky Way, if you want to just get out and explore with your binoculars, starts in the south-southeast, just above our friend Canis Major, the big dog, stretches up between Orion's club and Gemini's feet, and then sneaks up through the circle of Auriga. So here's the Z. This is the zenith around 8:30 p.m. Tonight or this week. And the actual outer rim of our galaxy, the outer edge where the galaxy should be thinnest and dimmest, actually sits right about here near the horn tip of Taurus, the star Elnath. But actually the Milky Way actually is not dimmest there. It's actually dimmest in Perseus, just because of dust in the plane of the Milky Way. And then if you turn and face kind of northwest, you can follow the rest of the Milky Way down through Perseus, down by the W of Cassiopeia, and then down. This is the top. This is Deneb. This is the top of Cygnus, sinking out of sight. So the Messier objects that you can grab, again, as I recapped, grab your Orion Nebula while the moon isn't around. Try to get your Casper the Friendly Ghost, which is your Messier 78. And then the Crab Nebula is up here just near the southern horn tip star of Taurus. The ones that we can grab this week that are new to our Messier minutes are the following. So we've got Messier 41. So now we're looking fairly low in the sky in the south. And what you want to look for up here first is Messier 41, which is sometimes called the little Beehive cluster. And this one you can see with your naked eye if you've got nice dark skies. Binoculars for sure, and really any size telescope would be fine for the little Beehive cluster. It's also NGC 2287, as you can see from here. Magnitude 4.5, it's relatively bright. In size, it's actually bigger than the full moon. So this green circle here represents kind of a low power eyepiece view, maybe 1.5 degrees. Actually, in a 6-inch Dobsonian telescope, it would look something like that. So it would be within the field of view of the telescope. Where it's located, to find it, is you can actually use, let's see, the bright star Sirius and just go straight down. Or you can look for kind of this star that's on the dog's back and his sort of chest area and go below and between those two stars. But really straight down from Sirius is fine. And it's about 2,300 light years away. And when you're looking at it, try to notice how many bright stars you see. Are the stars all looking like they're the same color, same type, things like that. So pay attention to that kind of thing. Up next, we've got Messier 50. Messier 50 is up above this. Messier 50 is kind of in a dark, deadish, star-free zone in the sky, but it's a nice open cluster, magnitude 5.9, so it's relatively bright. Good for binoculars, obviously, any size telescope, about 3,200 light years away, and it's quite bright, but it's a little smaller in size. You can see if I do the eyepiece view, it takes up much less space than the little Beehive a moment ago. So it's more compact. That makes it a little bit brighter. You can get it from drawing a line from Sirius up through the dog's nose, which is theta, and kind of doubling it. So sort of doubling that Sirius to theta distance. That's a good way of finding it. Again, do you see any shape to it? You know, are there any stars that appear different from the other ones? Things like that. And spoiler alert, there are a few little things you'll discover. Its nickname is the heart-shaped cluster, so maybe you'll notice the shape of a heart, that kind of thing to look for. All right, now up next, we've got a pair of Messier objects that are sitting up here this is Puppis, kind of a southerly constellation that isn't as familiar to people because it's so low on the horizon. But it's these two Messiers, 46 and 47, are kind of easy to locate the general area because they're just to the east of Sirius, which you can't miss. So 46, so you can see as I zoom in here that 47 is a brighter one, 46 is the fainter one. And if you want to measure it kind of with your hand, this represents about 1.3 outstretched fist diameters to the left of Sirius in the evening time. Let's see. Okay, so this one is 46. Is a little bit harder to see with naked eyes, but certainly you can pick it up in binoculars. In fact, you'll get them both at once in binoculars. Any size telescope will work. It's almost the size of the full moon. So let me just bring up my eyepiece view here. So you can see it's kind of in between those two previous ones we talked about. Not a lot of overly bright stars in it though, so it tends to be a bit more subdued. Okay, so that's 46. 47 is more of a showpiece, so it's kind of a little bit more of a show off. Let's bring this one into the view here. So this one you can see it's got a greater percentage of individual brighter stars to look for. So this one you can pick out with your naked eyes if you've got good sky conditions, definitely binoculars, definitely any size telescope, doesn't have to be a big one. Almost as big as the full moon. And you can easily count the number of stars in it. There aren't that many. So that's something you can take a look at for that one. Let's see, a couple more. M48. So here we are kind of heading in the same general direction. So M48 is near the border between Hydra and Monoceros here, the unicorn. And the way I find it is it's below and between this medium bright star, C Hydra, and kind of on the line on the way to Alpha Monocerotis. So you can find Alpha, and that's just a little bit above those two clusters. So if you've got M46 and M47, look a little bit higher than them for this bright star, medium bright star Alpha. And then see if you can find this not quite as bright star, C Hydra. So that's magnitude 3.9. That's magnitude 3.9. They're the same. And it's about, a third of the way, closer to C than it is to Alpha. So for 48, you're going to be looking for, it's not as bright or as condensed as the other ones. So binoculars should see it, a telescope should see it. Your eyes might have trouble picking it out. Again, it's relatively, I got the wrong object here. Let me pick up M48, do it again. Here we go. So you can see it's kind of sparse and spread out a little bit. And in this one, you can look for patterns in the stars. Now, it doesn't have a nickname the way some of the other clusters do. So maybe it hasn't struck people as a particular animal or design. So let you come to your own conclusions on that. And the last one is M93. And M93 is down here, these two are kind of to the left of Sirius, and M93 is kind of to the left of Wesen, the dog's rear end or bottom, if you like. This one, again, is not as bright. It's a magnitude 6.2. You can see it's pretty compact, so pretty condensed and concentrated, but it's not very big. So it's kind of a tiny little clump in that same field of view that I've been using. But yeah, any telescope will do for that one. You can use it. You can find it by, kind of scanning your binoculars to the east of Wesen, or if you can pick up the top two stars of Puppis, so Therese and Asmidi. Asmidi is a little double star. So you'll be able to recognize that in your binoculars as the double star. And then you can look, just scan a little bit above that. It's about, let's see, a thumb's width. So just a thumb's width above and to the right a little bit as MIDI. So again, you can take note of the number of stars that you see, maybe compare the number of bright ones with the amount of fainter stars, and look for any odd little stars or patterns that you might see in it as well. So those are my recommendations for this time up this week. And that's the last of the winter Messiers. So we're ready to jump into springtime on our next session. So I'm just going to stop my share here.
Spring on our next session too, right?
Sorry?
Our next session will be on the 14th, which is not too far away from the 21st. Am I wrong?
Yep.
So well, it makes sense. Doesn't feel like spring already. So
Yep,
we had a quick question. Milky Way, can you see it now? Well, I mean, you can always see the Milky Way. We're kind of in it, but I know what you mean. Can you see it now, or is it starting to show from April to October? That was quick question.
Oh, yeah. So that's a neat question. Kind of off topic here a little bit, but I can just quickly show how this works. Let me bring this up. So the Milky Way, let me just get rid of these symbols here. And I can make the Milky Way brighter here just by turning off the sky. Here we go. Hopefully you can see that a little bit better than you could before. So the central core of our Milky Way is most visible in the summertime. And that's below the horizon for us from here. So we're seeing the outer reaches rather than the inner reaches, but it's still relatively bright. And at this time of the year, so it stretches, as I said, from the southeast to the northwest. But as the months go by, let me just bring this up to say around midnight here. So once we get to the next month or so, see how the Milky Way is sort of hugging the horizon. And that leaves all the sky overhead with less gas and dust above us. And so that's why we call it galaxy season, because we can look past our own home galaxy and into the deep reaches of space. And then that Milky Way, once we get past the spring months, then it starts rising higher in the sky again. So yeah, we can definitely see it now. And let's just get back to March 1st here. But as we get, another month or so, it'll be dropping towards the horizon. If your sky's dark.
So if we don't have any other questions about Messier minutes, as you know, you can always find all these target lists at RASC.ca/Messier minutes, or where you find Insider's Guide to the Galaxy on RASC. I think we have one more question. Just a thank you for explaining. And we'll dive into spring targets next week. But for now, we are going to hand the floor